Morning everyone and welcome to Moorepay's webinar on payrolling benefits in kind. I'm Caris Lambert, Brand Marketing Manager here at Moorepay. So, after some housekeeping, I'll introduce you to our experts today and then they'll cover upcoming changes to P11Ds and the final move to payrolling benefits, essential things to consider for the next 12 months, including what's happening to loans and accommodation benefits, key dates you need to be aware of, how Moorepay can help you through these changes, and we'll finish off with a live Q&A so you can ask any questions you have on the topic. And on how to answer a question, you might notice on GoToWebinar there's a nice panel that pops up. You should see a question panel on your screen right now, and some of you have already found it, which is great. So yes, feel free to pop your questions in, which we'll answer as many as we can at the end. Don't worry if you're facing any technical difficulties. We're going to send everyone this recording and a copy of the slides after this webinar, so you'll be able to take that away with you. Just a quick bit about us for anyone who's new here. So Moorepay provide payroll and HR software as well as outsourcing services to businesses in the UK and Ireland. We've been around since 1966 and we have all the accreditations you'd expect, and we're rated excellent on Trustpilot too. Our promise is to make payroll and HR easy, and we do it with these three things. So we've built payroll and HR software that's easy and intuitive to use. We deliver quality outsourcing options, and all of this means you and your business can be worry-free from compliance. So on this slide, you can see some of the businesses who've trusted us to take care of their payroll and HR. And let's not forget that we're also an award-winning payroll and HR company. You can see some of the industry awards and shortlists we've been picked up from over the last couple of years. And if you'd like to learn anything more about us, just let us know in the chat. But that's enough about Moorepay. So time to meet the panel. Covering everything payroll legislation today is Cybill Watkins, Product Legislation Manager at Zellis Group. And then going through how Moorepay will support our customers through these changes is Michelle Keith, Chief Operating Officer at Moorepay. And supporting in the Q&A is Andrew Wing, Application and Technical Consultancy Manager at Moorepay. So now I'm going to pass on to Cybill for the next section. Thank you, Cybill.
Thank you, Caris, and just good morning to everybody, and thank you for joining us today. As Caris said, I'm Cybill Watkins. I'm the Product Legislation Manager for Zellis Group that incorporates Moorepay. I have not far off now 30 years payroll and HR management experience behind me, but I'm lucky nowadays to spend my days in the fun world of legislation. So first of all, we're just going to do a quick overview. As everybody knows or has heard of so far, of payrolling of benefits, from the high level, the mandating of the benefits is where you will be required to payroll the benefits rather than submitting P11Ds. Although it may be daunting for those who haven't done it before, it will give us and our clients more benefits. And I'm going to go through a few of these benefits a bit more detail in the next few slides. So first of all, what is changing? We all know that as of April 2026, the payrolling of benefits will be mandatory. This has been confirmed by Department of Business and Trade and HMRC, and there is plenty of activity going on behind the scenes, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that later on as well. The one caveat to the mandatory payrolling are loans and accommodation. DBT have confirmed that the government will make provision for these within legislation so that they can be payrolled later in the year. But what they've also said is come April 2026, it will be voluntary to payroll those. So from April 26, you will not need to register to payroll all the other benefits. HMRC will automatically remove all P11D benefits from your employee tax codes, except for loans and accommodation. As I said, it will become voluntary to payroll the loans and accommodation. And as an employer, should you wish to do this from 2026, you'll have to register for these two in the same way that now, where it is voluntary to payroll benefits, you have to register. Otherwise, you'll be required to submit a P11D. They've also confirmed that the P11D, as we know it today, will have a complete overhaul, and they will only show from 26-27 tax year onwards, it will only show the accommodation and loans until they have to be payrolled. So the benefits. So what are the benefits? You may well be asked this by your customers or by your management team. HMRC have been running a series of webinars and have actively been promoting the benefits of payrolling. It will take some mindset and some actual changes, but there are many reasons why it will benefit the business and employees. So no more P11Ds. Finally, goodbye to the once-a-year task of chasing suppliers for different data, completing the P11Ds potentially manually, getting them sent out, getting your P11DB submitted. No more posting out paper documents to your employees or being asked for copies throughout the year. So with this, it's going to reduce the admin burden. You can streamline your processes to look at the way you receive and process the data, and we'll have a look at that briefly later on. No more P46 car each quarter. Yet another form to go. P11D employees currently have their estimated big and it will become real time and accurate. So it removes the annual queries from the employees when their tax codes are changed. You'll be able to add, remove, or adjust the benefits in real time. And this will happen more smoothly as you adapt and streamline your processes. And no more bulk tax code queries once HMRC have received the paper P11Ds and action them. So currently, and until April 2026, you have to register to payroll benefits. So if we just nip over to the next slide. HMRC on their gov.uk website do have online guidance, but here you will find the registration process is done through your government gateway account. Agents can also access and register on behalf of their customers if their agent account allows. Once you've decided to payroll benefits, you need to communicate with your employees and tell them about the change. First question may be from them, I'm worried about being double taxed. Well, it's actually a myth that the employee will be double taxed. When payrolling benefits for the first year, HMRC do confirm that they will not be double taxed because currently they estimate their current year tax based on previous year figures. They then run an adjustment once the P11D is received. HMRC have said that they will contact employees once the final P11D is submitted and will arrange with the employees about any or over or underpayment on tax that's due. And that's either whether you're voluntary running it or whether this is after April 2026. Your employees may ask how HMRC will know about the benefit, or if it's being payrolled, will it affect their benefit claims? So you may wish to address these types of questions, whether it be with a webinar of your own or an FAQ sheet, along with some sort of letter or leaflet that will be able to explain to your clients and customers what will actually happen. Now, just a warning, if you don't register to payroll benefits on or before the 5th of April 2025 and do start to payroll the employee benefits, they won't be paying tax on these benefits in HMRC's eyes. And HMRC can then actually come to the employer to recover the taxable amounts, even if the employee has paid tax and it's been processed via payroll and reported on the FPS. The employee would receive a tax refund and the employer fined and charged with the outstanding amounts. And this is actually under PAYE regulations. So I'm absolutely for everybody, doing the voluntary payrolling of benefits, get it into your processes and systems for the 5th of April. Make sure you do register if you're going to do this. So what happens with tax codes? HMRC will automatically remove them from all employees in the PAYE group when the employer registers to payroll benefits. And this is why you cannot pick some employees to payroll and others to not. You will pick to say you will be payrolling these benefits when you register, and HMRC will go through every employee under that PAYE reference and make sure that they remove it. So next we're going to look at how benefits are taxed. We're going to, in the next series of slides, have a look at a few calculation examples. So let's look at the easiest first of all that you'll see on screen. This is when you know the total amount of the benefit at the beginning of the year. And it is also how you do your calculation for April every year. You take the annual amount, you divide it by the number of pay days in the year, and that gives you the taxable amount for each pay period. The taxable amount of the benefit in kind is added to the payroll taxable gross and is done by what we call a notional element. So it's not actually pay that's added to payable gross, it is just the taxable gross that's increased. Now, just to note, if you don't run a monthly payroll, don't forget to check how many pay periods are in that particular tax year. If you're running a weekly payroll, you will know that there aren't 52 weeks in the year, and there certainly aren't 52 weeks in every tax year. So do double check at the beginning of the year that you've made sure that you've divided it all correctly. So the example here is the medical insurance, annual amount 752.52. If you divide that by 12 for a monthly payroll, the notional tax will become 62.71. So the next slide, we're going to have a look at a insurance premium increase mid-year. This is where the fun starts. And you may or may not know that the income tax pay as you earn regulations 2015 actually contain the steps to follow for the calculations. So either as per the previous slide for a solid year, or they also actually give you how to do the calculation changes mid-year. And this is actually quite rare for those of you that love legislation as much as I do, because so much of it will actually turn around and say to you, do this, and they'll actually tell you how. So there is no case of this is open to interpretation. So on the example that we have got for you, to calculate the new annual total, in a nutshell, you'll subtract the amount already paid to date, divide the difference by the number of remaining payrolls. So here we have this medical assurance, the annual amount at the 6th of April, 752.52. We run a monthly payroll. So April, we're processing 62.71. Now, you get told in advance that in September, it is going to increase to £800 a year. So the employee has already paid 62.71 times 5, so they've been total paid £313.55. So you have your new premium and take off this amount, which leaves £486.45 left for the tax year. We have 7 pay periods left, so we divide it by 7. That gives us 69.46 for 6 periods and a final period with the adjustment for £69.51. So the next slide we're going to have a look at is taxable benefit calculation example for correcting for year end. We're going to look at an example where your employee is still employed. The final payroll of the year has been run and you have been notified that there has been a change to the benefit. If the employee is still employed, then you need to make the adjustment in April. You still need to calculate what was due what was paid, and then add or subtract the difference in the new amount in the April calculation. And legislation does allow for this. So this time we're looking at a company car. The previous company car was £4,000 a year, and the new one has a lower amount of £3,800. The car was changed on the 1st of March, but payroll wasn't notified until the change on the 29th of March. So obviously far too late to process. So in this example, you have to look at the number of days the benefit was available. So this benefit was available for 329 days at the original 4,000 amount. So it's 4,000 divided by 365, because we're not in a leap year, times the 329 days. We then work out the new rate for the final 36 days, giving us a total taxable benefit of £3,980.27. Now, this person has actually paid taxable benefit for the 4,000 for the year. So if we flick over to the next slide, it shows the remainder of this calculation. So what we need to do here is actually make an adjustment to your April figure. So at this point in April, you will be making your calculations on the 3,800. You divide it by 12, as we've previously said. Now, you've got an overpayment of tax from the previous tax year of £19.73. So what you would do is take your monthly amount for April, which is £316.67, and take off £19.73. So the benefit amount for April would be £296.94. And then from May onwards, you'd revert back to the original figure. Now, obviously, if the new car is at a higher taxable benefit, then you'd actually add it on. But I wanted to show that you can take off and add on, and this is to make the corrections. So, employee considerations. Some things to have thought about in the next few slides, but just wanting to go back onto the context from the previous slide, that was for employees who are still employed. Now, if your employee has left, so if you cannot make changes in the payroll, then you've got two options. First of all, you can report the excess amount on a P11D via Government Gateway account. You'd report, so this example of a car, it would be reported in F. You'd include all the car details on the P11D as if you hadn't payrolled the benefit. And then for the amount that's already been taxed, you add this in where the box is that is amount paid for by employee for private use. Now, you may also do an FPS adjustment. So you can send the FPS adjustment for the tax year. You add the amount to the taxable pay or subtract if there was an overpayment, but do not adjust the tax paid amount. This is also the only option if the employee has been overtaxed, because you cannot submit a negative P11D. Now, where your employee is making good on the benefits, when they make good in full, there is actually no taxable benefit. Now, they have to make good before the 6th of July in the following tax year. Any amounts made good after the 6th of July will not affect their cash equivalent, meaning the benefit will still be taxable and liable for national insurance contributions and cannot be adjusted by the employer. When the actual cost of fuel is established, the employee has till the 1st of June to make good all or part of the fuel costs. This is because it may not be possible to have all the private fuel data by close of the last pay period. So you do need to make sure that you have an easy way for employees to report this data to you and ensure that they do it on time. So some more considerations. Processes are going to be a big consideration in bringing in the changes. You may well need to bring in new processes to be able to capture benefit data on a real-time basis. If the data is required in real time for payroll, which we know we will need, who will manage and own this process if the data spans across multiple systems and locations? Calculations need to be made before the start of the tax year and potentially throughout the tax year. Who's going to be doing that, and how are they going to be notifying payroll if it's done outside the payroll team? And year-end reconciliations to make sure that you have reported the full correct amount at the end of the tax year. If you provide company cars, you'll need to make sure that the vehicle provider can tell you promptly of any vehicle change, and that they also provide you with all the relevant car details. The days of getting this months after the change are long gone, and now all providers need to consider how they become more proactive. Your benefit or HR team or your manager needs to ensure that when they negotiate changes to annual policies, that this change is passed to the payroll team on or before the month is due for the change, and not put them under more pressure by it being late or having to do recalculations later on. You may also wish to have a full benefits overhaul. Do you go to a specialist benefit provider such as Benefex, or do you go out yourselves to individual suppliers? How are you going to receive the data from them? How are you going to inform your employees in time as per legislation for things such as the annual benefit statement, which you have to give to the employee before June every tax year that you're payrolling the benefits? Are you still going to give a year-end statement for their tax returns, or have a year-to-date pay element figure on their payslip? And also, do you have loans or accommodation? If so, will you be keeping this as a manual out of payroll process, or will you take the leap as and when it becomes mandated and actually start to payroll it? So some final considerations. PAYE regulations. So the maximum 50% tax also applies on payrolling benefits and applies to the cash amount before the benefit is added. If you cannot take the tax, you will need to carry it forward to the next pay period. Or if this has become a regular occurrence, for now, you can actually still remove that employee from the payroll of benefits via Government Gateway account and revert them back to a P11D. Employees making good. As I've already talked about this, employees can reduce their tax bill by paying back part or all of the taxable value. When you payroll this benefit, you will need to adjust the cash equivalent, and it may be made good before the last payday of the tax year. And for many, it might be technically, it might actually be after your payroll cut-off. And if it isn't made good by the government stated dates, then you need to have a look at how you're going to manage that and ensure that they are still giving you accurate data. The exemption for fuel benefits and credits tokens, as I've already said, that is made good by the 1st of June the following tax year. And if that deadline isn't met, the notional value is to be added to the next payroll so the employee takes the full liability. Another thought on that, on your process is actually receiving the information and instructions from your employee. How a change is passed to you by your benefit provider, as we've said, and how you go about your annual pricing negotiations. You know, as we've talked about throughout this, it's not just change a pay element and add the new amount. I do want to, through this slide as well, just talk about a previous meeting that I was lucky to be involved in with HMRC. Lucky to be a part of the stakeholder meeting and about the changes that are coming in. So what they've said is to expect legislation and draft guidance. They're hoping to publish this in summer 2025. They have also said that there may be some small changes to the current voluntary process. And this is due to the fact that currently voluntary payrolling of benefits doesn't have any place and it has not been derived from legislation. We know that July 2026 will be the deadline for final P11Ds. They've stated late 2025 should see legislation brought in for loans and accommodation, Now, we don't know what this is going to look like yet. They've just started opening up conversations with some stakeholders, and it hasn't actually gone through government to bring it in and pass it through Parliament. On the loans and accommodations, they are thinking that it may be a calculation for the value to be done in a reverse calculation as a temporary solution for the next few years. They are looking at alternative methods and, as I said, engaging with stakeholders before any final decisions made. They're also going to develop an after-year process because they have been made fully aware that as in payroll, we have these strict deadlines and we cannot make changes once the payroll's gone to sign off, gone to backs, etc. And they know that getting data from third parties and employees can be tricky at times. So they're going to consider a final cut-off date each year to make good any amounts owed. It's not a general purpose though, and if they see companies doing it regularly, they will be fined for late reporting. It's for exceptional circumstances. But again, this is a current, let's admit they're currently thinking of developing. There will be more differences in the RTI, particularly between now and 2026, as currently there are many sort of fields that aren't on the RTI that are still on the P11D. If you look at the P11D, there are free form fields. We've got class 1 and class 1A NIC values, which obviously at the moment aren't reported on the FPS. They've confirmed that there won't be any more information required than is already mandatory on the P11D, the P46 and the P11DB. And they're working with various bodies and groups to look into this more. They've also said penalties will be brought in. They're expecting maybe year one may have some sort of soft landing with low level penalties, but late returns and payments will not be soft landed and will still stand. And they're currently working on the values. So some final considerations. We've been through a lot today. So the main things for I think for everybody here to take back is if you're going to voluntary payroll your benefits, then you have to register by the 5th of April. Now you as a team and as a wider business will need to have a consider, are you going to do this now? There may be more availability from software support, or are you going to wait for the masses to be thrown into it when it becomes mandatory? You don't have to payroll every single benefit you have. You may wish to decide to payroll a benefit from April 2025 and get yourselves and your teams used to it. So you may pick something that's pretty static and pretty simple, such as like a private medical insurance or vouchers, and then bring in the others when it becomes compulsory. Said reviewing your benefit structures just to make sure that your times are all aligned with the payroll. Payroll can't be adjusted, but other structures can. Communication is absolutely key to all your stakeholders, all your customers, all your clients. You need to make sure that these are thorough and that they have a way of being able to speak to yourselves if they have any questions. And also, obviously, systems and softwares. You know, is your payroll provider prepared? So finally, onto some key dates. These are just some dates for you to be aware of. They're not absolutely everything because there's a lot, but we just wanted to bring this to screen to life. And when you get these slides, obviously you can make a note of these into your calendar. So currently P11DB still needs to be submitted for all benefits by the 6th of July 2025 and payment made by the 22nd of July if you're paying by bank transfer. And that's the 24-25 tax year. And for those who payroll benefits from April 2025, these dates move to the 6th of July 26 submissions deadlines. The exception, obviously, with is with the termination and testimonials, where you actually pay your NIC Class 1As in real time. So that's it from me. I know there's an awful lot for you guys to sort of consider. We'll have a look at questions a bit later, but for now, I'm really pleased to be handing over to Michelle.
Thank you so much, Cybill, and just amazing amount of information there for everyone listening. Now, obviously, this is an area of some complexity. It's going to be a position of change over the next kind of 12 plus months, and of course, we're still waiting for some of those key outcomes on things like the loans and how we deal with those. However, in the meantime, what I'm pleased to be able to say is that Moorepay are here to help our customers every step of the way. So, as you would probably have come to expect from Moorepay, over the coming months and certainly over the next 12 months, as different organisations are transitioning at different times, we will be bringing you lots of expert advice, guidance, support all around payrolling benefits and the key considerations to make. So we've been lucky to have Cybill come and talk to us about that today, but of course we'll be sharing more information, probably further webinar sessions later in the year if customers are looking for that kind of support. We'll have information going into our knowledge bases so that you can kind of cross-check information and try to make sense of all the changes and how they're going to impact you. Now, as part of this, of course, it's inherent on all of us as payroll suppliers of software that we make sure that the systems and the services that you are using are going to provide you with, really trusted, reliable outcomes so that you've got total confidence in everything that you're doing. Now, naturally, Moorepay systems are available today to support with payrolling benefits, and some organisations do this already in larger quantities. Other organisations are heavily relying on P11Ds in this space. So there's lots of variation across the customer base. But of course, our software, which is recognised by the HMRC, can already provide lots of support to you for both calculating and processing payroll benefits, giving you that trust and confidence that you can have an accurate and compliant solution for your employees. We will also have our customer support, and for our managed services customers, our payroll teams on hand to support you as you go through these changes. And we have Andrew on the call with us that can answer any questions about how our technical support team can support you too. Now, we have a number of options available for our customers to help you transition from P11D services today, whether that is done through the Moorepay team as part of our managed services P11D program, or whether that is through third parties or perhaps done in-house. And those options have some choice for customers to be able to make. Now, we are making available the ability for us to do configuration changes for you based on the code we have set up today. Notwithstanding what Cybill was saying, that this is a great opportunity to really think about and revise and consider your overall benefits proposition for your employees. And potentially things like flexible benefits may be something to consider at this juncture. But naturally, we'll be here to help you with those configuration changes that you need to make. We are also making available for customers that want to take this on board, communication packs. So standard packs, standard templates for customers who want to really proactively help their employees through these changes. In addition to having lots of other templates available and support for things like an annual payroll benefit statement for actually those colleagues who need to obviously see that information because they're in scope today, but equally being able to give additional documentation for those colleagues who perhaps have to submit tax returns each year, timed slightly different to what would have been the traditional P11D process, and may also require information to support them through that. So we have several choices available for our customers depending on how comprehensive as a service you might wish to receive from us, and that goes right up to a kind of managed payrolling benefit service, really kind of the substitute service actually for our P11D service today, but at the other end of the spectrum being supported by Andrew's team with just configuration changes, and really you want to do the lion's share of the work yourself. Now, if you are someone thinking, well, actually I want to explore how these changes might affect me and which of those packages and services is best going to suit my needs, please get in touch with your account manager or one of the customer success managers within Moorepay, and we'll be happy to discuss those requirements further. In the meantime, keep looking at all of our normal knowledge resources that are available to you, and watch that space. Subscribe on the Customer Help Centre or the portal as some of you know it, so that you can watch those articles and links coming through too, and we'll be continuously updating you as the year goes on. I think we have a page here also of some helpful, useful links for you. If you can just go through one more slide for us. Thank you so much, Karen. So here you'll find a whole range of websites that are going to give you lots and lots of information about the changes, what to expect, things that you really need to be thinking about. There's plenty of information there to go and get your head around and start really thinking about this for your organisation. If you, of course, are looking to do something slightly quicker and not wait as this year kind of continues, please do bear in mind some of those dates on things like registration. And of course, reach out to us sooner rather than later if you would like some support. Otherwise, we'll be talking to you proactively throughout the coming year and look forward to being able to help you on your journey. I think we are up for Q&A now.
Yes, we are. Thank you so much, Michelle, and thank you, Cybill, as well. That was great, and we've had lots of questions and comments come through, which is fantastic. So yes, in the Q&A, I've been looking through some questions. We've had a few on the final date to register. So for example, someone asks, if we haven't registered yet, when is the final date to register if you only want to payroll benefits from April 2026 onwards?
Yep, so you don't have to register if you are going to wait for the mandatory date. So if you want to do it from 2025, so this tax year, yes, you have to register on or before the 5th of April. For 2026, as at the 6th of April, HMRC will expect every employer to payroll the benefits, and they will make the automatic switch behind the scenes, and they will do all the work on employee tax codes, etc., to give them the monetary values back. So if you are going to wait until 2026, then you won't have to do anything unless you're going to voluntary payroll loans and accommodation.
Fabulous, thank you, Cybill. And I think you might have mentioned it, but just a reminder, do we still need to report and submit P46 information quarterly?
You do, unless you are payrolling the benefits. So if you've got your cars and you go on to April this year, then that will stop. So once April 2026 happens, there will be no more P46 cars, because all the data you actually have on your FPS next to each employee. So that is the replacement.
Fabulous. And do you know what happens to pay settlement agreements?
They are staying as normal. So that is separate. Your PSAs, you still have to continue as normal on those.
Fabulous. We keep getting extra questions coming in, so I'm just finding some good eggs. Oh, they're flowing through. Okay. I think we've answered a few of these. Okay, so this one question asks, we already payroll benefits, but we'll be payrolling assets sold to employees. Do we need to let HMRC know about this additional benefit, please?
Yeah, you will need to register that additional benefit, because if you're currently P11Ding any benefits, even though you're doing some, and you want to do it from April 2025, you will need to register that specific benefit. Obviously, April 26, you will do it. You will have to do it automatically anyway. So yeah, this is where, you know, somebody might be payrolling, say, medical insurance already, and this year they want to bring cars in because they're doing it bit by bit. So yes, you still need to go through your gateway account and register those particular benefits.
Thank you. We have more on registering. Someone effectively asks, are you able to change your mind? Can you register but then not payroll and use P11D for 2025?
I'm not 100% sure on that, because HMRC, as far as I'm aware, will take the benefit out of the employee's tax code. So what you'll need to do is actually let HMRC know then. So do make sure that you're ready and you're happy. As I say, you can have all the data ready and then register on the 5th of April and then start it. So you could have done all your notifications to your employees, you can done all your systems set up and everything. but you're better off making sure you're doing it that way than having to tell HMRC that actually you're not going to be doing it and having all the employee tax codes put back in.
Great, thank you. Sonia asks, what if benefits vary every month, such as staff purchases, and we're not working with static benefits?
You will have to make the adjustments every month. You'll have to make sure that you get that data through. It could be that somebody's driving a pool car, so the car changes every month. You could potentially look at estimating. I never recommend that. You can make the adjustment in the following month, so you could use, if you can't get this data on time, you may consider looking at using previous month's benefit and then putting the adjustment within that. But it is all about getting the data on time and accurately. But HMRC also acknowledge that there are going to be limitations, so adjustments will need to be made. So you'll need to make sure that your process is robust enough to be able to deal with these changes, even if you do it a month in arrears.
Perfect, thank you. We're getting a few questions in about the Moorepay system. Rianne asks, how do we enter the benefits in the Moorepay system? Perhaps that's one more for Andrew.
Perhaps for me, yeah. It does depend on the benefits. So cars and vans, the calculations obviously reasonably complicated in terms of you've got to know the value of the car and all the other parameters that feed into that calculation, so you can actually put the details into the system and the system will calculate the answer for you. It will also take into consideration the adjustments that Cybill went through, whereby you might have a car beginning of year, a calculation over 12 months, and then you change mid-year. It will do all those calculations based on the dates that you put into the system. If the benefit is a little bit more simplistic, such as private medical, where it might change once, but it's just a cash figure, you already know that figure, then the easiest way to do that is just to put it directly onto the pay code. That's been defined for that purpose, so you will need a pay code. If one doesn't exist, then that's something to talk to your account manager about, what Michelle were touching on earlier. But once you've got that pay code, then you'll be able to just key the value directly onto that code, whether that's a fixed amount, then it remains for the remainder of the year because it's static, or going back to the earlier comment where it's very variable, you might just want to key in the value each and every pay period.
Perfect, that's so helpful, thank you. Slightly related to this, I'm guessing from a customer, is the registration with the HMRC, do they do that directly, or does Moorepay do it on their behalf?
Yeah, that would be a direct. Sorry, go on, Cybill.
No, I was going to say exactly the same as you, Michelle. Carry on.
So that would be a direct activity by the customer. We're not set up as agents on behalf of every organisation to be able to undertake that task for them.
Fabulous, thank you. And we had one question. Someone asks, can Moorepay offer a consultation bespoke service to current clients who have a fully managed service?
So, Caris, yes, we absolutely can. So we've got multiple tiers of options available, one of which is a very comprehensive full wrap service. So we can have some discussions with you about both what will be your requirements for Andrew's team to help you in terms of those configuration changes and how many benefits you need to make, in addition to actually what do we want to do in terms of communications for your employees and the frequency of those communications. And there's lots of choices for all of that as well. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit more comprehensive, or you're looking for something pretty simple and straightforward, speak to your account manager in the first instance, and then we can set up those conversations.
Perfect, thank you. And I think we'll round out with one more question from Amy. Is there a deadline, or I suppose any recommendations to inform employees? Like, is there a certain amount of notice you need to give to them?
I mean, legislatively there isn't, but the less time you give between notifying the employees and April, the more potential queries you're going to have. It does take a bit of time to, you know, create your notification, your letters, your leaflets. So the longer you can give, because if you go and tell them on the 1st of April you're doing that, you can imagine there's going to be a lot of queries flying out. There's always going to be somebody with a personal query as well, which you know, you give them time, particularly those that also that you have accountants for additional personal purposes. So it's just, it is the longer the better. I mean, a few months is ideal at least.
I think what we've got in our communications pack for those that want to take that service on from us, either using the templates or for us distributing communications and posting letters, etc., to employees, we have something down a countdown to the change letter, which we're suggesting will be very sensible to send to employees. It will be a point of confusion for some colleagues, particularly if you are also someone doing tax returns, and maybe you've got something like the loans benefit today, but that's not yet changing, and so things are a little bit out of kilter. So we've got some manager FAQs that will be available, letters on that countdown to the change, and then for those that want a slightly more comprehensive service, we can do those more individualised benefits transition statements as well to confirm what it looked like today and what does that mean to them based on the changes that the organisation is going through. So I think with these kind of changes, the further in advance you can start getting people ready for those changes, the better. Now, obviously, if you're a smaller organisation and you really only have perhaps one benefit that's changing, that's going to be much easier to deal with from a communications point of view. But certainly if you've got more employees, multiple benefits that are going to be in scope for change, then helping those customers or your colleagues get ready for those changes and doing that several months in advance and kind of giving them lots of information along the way will be super advantageous.
Perfect, thank you very much. We've had so many questions, so I'm sorry we haven't managed to get through them all today. Hopefully we covered the main topics, but I will say we'll send these slides out after the webinar and the webinar recording, and Cybill has linked lots of very helpful resources as well that give plenty more information. So hopefully that'll fill in any gaps, but you know, you're welcome to reach out to the communications email address if you do want a bit more info. We'll see what we can do. Great, and yes, just to wrap up the webinar for today, if you do want a bit of extra information as well, you can head to our Knowledge Centre on the website. If you just go to the website, it's quite easy to find, and we also have a payroll legislation guide as part of that, where we update it every 2 months, so it's all in line with the changes. So yeah, it's just lots of helpful free resources you can help yourself too. And yeah, just a general thank you to everyone who attended today and asked some great questions. And thank you very much to our panelists. You've all been fantastic and hopefully very helpful to everyone who's joined. Have a lovely day, everyone.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.